Contreras here, going to show you a video about the foot and shoulder elevated hip thrust, which I really like, and it's funny, it took me a while to really wrap my brain around this. I was talking to my friend Nick Tumanella about a year ago. Some of the things he was saying, it didn't click at the time, and now it does, now that I know more about biomechanics, but I'm amazed that I didn't think about this. But basically, I have three choices. I can put my heels on the box, I can put the middle of my feet, or I can kind of go more through my toes. So those are the three options, and I actually like all three of them. And I do all three of them from time to time. I kind of switch them around. And I like all three for different purposes. For example, on your toes, you know, when you sprint, you come down on your toes. But I think that heels might have more hamstring, more posterior chain. But again, you can experiment with all three of those. But basically, this is what I never thought of. When I just get my butt off the ground, this is a knee flexion exercise. Right now, my hamstrings are turned on big time. I am doing, this is kind of like a leg curl component, right? This is almost like a seated leg curl motion here. So I have a knee flexion component while I extend the hips. So again, knee flexion, and then I come up, and then about here there's not much knee flexion, but there's hip extension. So the lower I go, the more dynamic that knee flexion and extension becomes. But I'm using the hamstrings as both knee flexors and hip extensors, which is what I like about this movement. And then when you do it one leg at a time, now you're introducing rotary forces throughout the spine and pelvis. And so it makes it a really, really challenging exercise. The other thing I like is that this range up here, right in here, this is a hips neutral position. And that's the range of motion more associated with ground contact when you sprint. You need to be very strong and powerful in that range of motion. And so, again, I'll go over proper form. All right, heels, midfoot, or whole foot on the box. Okay, get your butt off the ground. Head and neck in neutral. Squeeze right here. Squeeze the glutes forward. Don't let your spine or your pelvis anterior pelvic tilt, or your lumbar spine hyperextend. Use the glutes to control the lumbar spine and pelvis. So you're using the glutes as hip extensors, but also as anterior pelvic tilters and anti-lumbar extensors. Okay, so 2 legs at a time, just like this. Now right here, glutes, glutes, glutes. And then one leg. Raise this, butt on the ground, squeeze, lower it slowly. You always want the eccentric, to pay attention to the eccentric contraction too, because a lot of people just plop down. Make sure you come up to a full range, control your amount of lumbar extension and anterior pelvic tilt by using the glutes, and don't sway from side to side. If you can't control yourself